Hello, welcome back. As always, I'm Kelly, and we got through the best list. I guess now it's time to go through the worst list. And oh boy, do we have a cavalcade of crap. Because as much as I want to say that 2019 was overall positive, we had some pretty negative parts of it, not just in the film world. Yeah, and it seems like some of those negative parts are following us into this new century, because 2 days into the new year, and we have World War III trending on Twitter. Okay, over-exaggeration and jokes aside, let's actually talk about the films that I thought were the worst of the worst. Now, to keep in mind, just like with the last one, I did not see everything, and when I had an active choice between seeing crap or seeing something good because they dropped 4 to 6 movies in one day, I chose the good. What? I'd want to spend my money on actually enjoyable products? No! So I'm sorry if you didn't see like Angry Birds 2 on this list, or The Spies in Disguise, or some random religious film that someone else thought was horrible. I didn't want to waste money on that. Just end of story. If I'm going to have to go see something every week, I might as well pick from the crap that I actually think is worth watching. And this is the crap that I had to go see because either I thought it was worth watching and it turned out it wasn't, or B, because it was one of the only things coming out that week. Yay. Also, you might be wondering why this is a top 11 list and not a top 10 list, and that is because, well, it started off as a tradition, now I just kind of gotta keep it. So no more stalling, let's actually get into this, and starting, as always, with my dishonorable mentions. Destroyer. Yeah, this would actually be pretty high on the list if not for the fact that it's technically a 2018 film. Its wide release wasn't until January, but it technically came out back in 2018. Semantics. I didn't get a showing of this until the last week of January. Charlie's Angels. Yeah, there were many worse girl power movies on this list. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. This movie goes from 0 of boring and dumb as balls to what the fuck Game of Thrones level of death and destruction in one act, and it is kind of astounding, and that astonishment is pretty much the only thing that kept it off this list. Gemini Man. Yeah, this is more disappointing than it was actually terrible. There is a plot in here, and as I said in my review of it, if you just shaved down the movie to like 45 minutes, an hour, cutting off all the repetitive stuff, you'd actually have a pretty enjoyable experience. The Fanatic. This is kind of breaking one of my rules because I see theater movies. I don't put movies on like Netflix or anything, and technically this had a theatrical release, but it was only in like 30 theaters across the country. But the movie is just so batshit that I had to put it on here as, if nothing else, a dishonorable mention. And with those out of the way, let's get on to the list, starting with number 11, The Kitchen. Yeah, here's one of those movies that was a hell of a lot worse than Charlie's Angels about doing girl power. An adaptation of a DC comic that I did some research on, and it kind of got mixed to positive reviews. This movie, though, was horrible. It had no structure whatsoever. All of the lead actresses are bearable to pointless. The plot itself is so jumbled together that it makes it seem like I could take over a mob and run it very effectively in just a couple of hours. The story is predictable and stupid, and honest to God, it's just boring as shit. As far as comic book adaptations, we've seen a hell of a lot better this year, and we deserve a hell of a lot better than this. Number 10, Replicas. All in all, it's been a pretty bang-up year for Keanu Reeves, but people forget that this is how the year started for him. And by God, this movie is bad. The ramshackling together of two separate and distinct science fiction ideas, one about cloning your family and another about building AI robots out of copying your brains, and then trying to smash it together. I don't know what you were expecting, Keanu, but this is just bad in so many ways. And I'm not even going to talk about the technical side because I can usually forgive that if the story's there. But this story is just completely off the rails. And because of that, I can't forgive the technical side. And these robots look like shit. It's dumb. It's boring. It doesn't know what it's trying to do. And it looks gaudy as hell. Is there any wonder it's on this list?
Number 9. The Final Wish.
Technically, I'm cheating with this one, just like I was with Destroyer, because I think it had a limited release in December of 2018, so technically it's an 18 movie, but it didn't actually come to my city until January of 2019, which is honestly a lot more fitting, because this is a shitty horror film from January. Oh no, I found a magical wishing device, and now they're twisting my wishes and making it all crap. What's going to happen? This is the most basic wish-granting plot possible, and it's dumb and boring as balls, despite the fact it actually has a pretty decent cast inside of it. It's not worth seeking out, and I wish I never wasted money on it. You can take that as my final wish on the subject.
Number 8. Captive State.
And we got ourselves another one for the crap fest, and I'm sure that I'm the only one that actually saw it, because this was garbage. The world has been invaded by aliens, and of course they're so far advanced over us, there's nothing we can do, except there totally is. So why did we lose the first time? It's one of those rah-rah revolutions, you know, we're always going to fight back no matter who the oppressive people are, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah. What makes this one crap is that the main character is not the main character inside of this, and he's basically being shoved into this by his purported family, who honestly all treat him like shit. But it's supposed to be feeling and inspiring and impactful because they got to the leadership of these aliens, but not really, because goddamn, this movie sucks. It's gray and washed out. It thinks it's a lot smarter than it is, and frankly speaking, it wasn't even surprising some of the things that happened inside of it. There was no tension. I just sat there until something happened, and that is not how a movie should feel. I felt captive in the theater because I had to see this. I wasted money on it.
Number 7. 47 Meters Down, Uncaged.
It's a worse list. Better throw on the shitty shark movie. The first 47 Meters Down, for all of its problems, the crappy looking sharks, the obvious low budget, it had a solid premise and tried to work within that premise. And it did it surprisingly well. It added on 20 minutes at the end that totally shouldn't have been there because they were just hallucinating, but it worked. Then you get 47 Meters Down, Uncaged, a title that is completely meaningless because they're not 47 meters down. They're in some ruins that are maybe 10 meters down, and there's no cages inside of here unless you want to talk about this maze of a building where it's pretty clear that they had maybe an aquarium the size of my apartment and people were just swimming around it for an hour. Oh no, they put that statue that was over there on that side to give the impression they somehow crossed the room. And the worst one was they kept reusing the same shot of them swimming down this spiraling staircase over and over and over again. And all they would do is just pan the camera up into a black spot and then pan it down where they've restarted the footage. It's literally the same shot. It is such a horrible, horrible mess, and it really sucks. I'd hate to say this, but I think Sharknado might have done this better. At least Sharknado knew that it was stupid. Oh no, there's an alert on my phone. It must mean...
Number 6. Countdown.
Countdown. It's a numbers generator, and when it hits 0, I'm going to die. Or, you know, you could just not download the app. You could do that. I asked the question why there's always a horror film that has to do with new technology, but, well, you can do a horror film about new technology and make it work. The new Child's Play is about AI and really asked the question how smart we need all of our products in our house. And it was scary and tension-filled. But here we have a killer app that somehow has lore dating back to some ancient mythology and Catholicism inside of it. Where is this coming from, and why do I give a shit? Honestly, it's coming right out the writer's ass, because pretty much everyone that I know that did go see this, just like me, predicted the easy way out of this. They need to prove the devil wrong. One of you kill yourselves. Problem solved. And you save thousands upon millions of lives, depending on how many people downloaded this shit. And that's ultimately what they do in the end. Because apparently everyone is just stupid and wanted to play around in random salt-painted circles that somehow keep demons out, I guess. But honestly, I can't say that it's the worst thing I've seen because it's just a shitty horror film. Now let's go into something completely balls to the walls insane.
Number 5. Serenity.
Not to be confused with that good Serenity, that movie connected to that TV series that we all wish hadn't gotten canceled. This one has Matthew McConaughey swimming nakedly in the water towards his son, who's also naked at the bottom of the ocean. Because symbolism! This movie. Oh my god. I don't want to spoil this movie, but at the same time, it's almost impossible to talk about without spoiling its big twist, which it somehow drops before the second act is finished. And then the movie becomes this existential horror about somebody realizing that his world is fake. Like, what the fuck is this? And all of this is somehow connected to a kid's dad and fishing a giant fish named Justice. Now, this movie is on my worst list because it is bad, but it's fascinating. And I actually recommend that you go watch this movie. Just do some drugs before you watch this movie, because then I think the movie will somehow make more sense than if you're sober.
Number 4. Cats.
No, please don't make me remember. Don't make me remember that this thing exists. Cats is a story about a bunch of cats who are horny trying to fuck their way into reincarnation while fighting off McCavity, the evil cat who is trying to win the competition by making sure he's the only contestant. I think there wasn't much plot. In fact, most of the cats were just singing about themselves for 2 hours. There was very little mentioning about what actually is the point of the songs. And they all look horrifying because for some reason they didn't want to just put them in bodysuits or have actual cats on the screen. Instead, we have these CGI horrific monstrosities that are all floating half an inch off the ground. Why? I'll admit this is a fascinating one, but this is just shit, and I can't.
One eternity later.
I think I've calmed down a bit. Now, you might be wondering why this is only number 4. If it took an entire bottle. It's number 4 because this isn't offensive. The next 3 pretty much are. And, there's no way to soften the blow here. So.
Number 3. Unplanned.
Oh, Pure Flicks. Welcome back to the worst list, Pure Flicks. You complete idiotic fucking morons. Why did you make a pro-abortion movie? Disguised as an anti-abortion movie? Yeah, this is an anti-abortion movie that got a lot of flack back in the early parts of this last year, like March and April, because it got a rated R, which is just the ratings board being completely unjust to this masterpiece of a movie, which shows graphic depictions of babies being ripped out of people's wombs with all the blood and gore that you would see in a Saw film. Yeah, the MPAA was being so terrible to give this fucking piece of shit an R rating. But honestly, that's not what put this on the worst list. What put this on the worst list is that it's so inane and so misunderstands everything about abortion that it's honestly kind of horrifying. People were telling me how good this movie was and how informative and how realistic it was in its depiction of all this crap. No, it wasn't. It was blatant fear-mongering trying to scare you into hating all those abortion clinics, and honestly will probably rile up a lot of really mentally unstable people into doing some stupid shit. Like, shooting up one of these places. But the movie goes out of its way to say, no, we're not like those people. With several scenes of, like, dumbasses who are calling out names and crap like that. Never mind that their main characters are doing the same thing. They're just doing it with a even tone of voice. And look, so you know how I stand on the subject, so it's not like, oh, well, he's just the leftist who hates it. I'm pretty much pro-life. I'm like 95% pro-life. There are very few situations where I say that an abortion is okay. And those are very few. Like, that's a hard line that I do not cross. So for someone like me to say that this movie that should be preaching to the choir is complete and utter garbage that's going to inspire people to do really dumb shit one day, you fucked up. And this might be a worse fuck up than even your God's Not Dead shit. Think about that. Oh, but as inept as this film was, there's one worse that misunderstood what it was trying to preach even more. And by God, it really stuck to its guns.
Number 2, Black Christmas.
Say what you will about the people at PureFlix who made Unplanned. At least I think they know what an abortion is, even if they have a horribly cartoon way of thinking that it actually happens. Do you even know what feminism is, movie? Because, you done fucked it up. Black Christmas is a parody plot about evil frat boys who are in a man cult following black magic bust of a 17th century asshole and trying to use that to brainwash people, create an army so that they can take over government and make sure that woman stays in her place. What? This takes all the problems from The Kitchen and Charlie's Angels and dials them up to 11 and is not ashamed at the fact that it knows jack shit about what it's doing. Like, it's almost proud of it. I'd honestly say that this is kind of a fascinating watch because of how bafflingly stupid it goes about everything. Kind of like how Serenity and Cats have that layer of intrigue inside of them. But this movie is so mean-spirited and actively says that if you don't believe everything that this one activist character believes wholeheartedly, that you're basically an evil supporting rapist. I just have to ask, why the fuck should anybody watch this? You hurt your cause by showing it so horribly, and you alienate the people who you could possibly lead to your side by calling them all evil assholes. Just why, movie? Why? With all that said, though, there is one movie that pissed me off more than pretty much any other this year. One so inept, so confident that what it was doing was so breathtakingly brilliant that it used all of its advertisement to basically shove it in your face. One that jumped on a social bandwagon trailer way bigger than anything than Black Christmas or Kitchen or Cats. One that still was a box office smash and everyone supposedly loved it. There's one movie that made me mad this year. It's this one.
Number 1, The Lion King.
Yeah, it seems like a bit of an anticlimax, doesn't it? The Lion King, the CGI photorealistic Lion King. Why are you so pissed at this one over the others? Its photorealism destroys any form of emotional weight this movie could possibly have. Its recasting for racial diversity doesn't actually improve the source material at all. If anything, it actually worsens it because the voice actors are not actual voice actors most of the time. It really does say something when Matthew Broderick from the original 1995 one is a better voice actor for Simba than whoever the hell they got in this one. They cut down one of the most iconic villain songs in the movie to a 30-second talk singing section shot in the dark where you can't see how bad the CGI looks on these hyenas. But then they go around and take another song and lengthen it out for another minute, 2 minutes long, just so they can put John Oliver there failing at stand-up. Look, I like John Oliver, but he's not a very good stand-up. He never has been. The quote-unquote best thing in this movie was Seth Rogen as Pumbaa, and honestly, he's just Pumbaa. He makes fart jokes. He was funnier in the Timon and Pumbaa show back when I was a little kid. There is literally nothing in this movie. So why is it a big fucking hit? Why do I keep getting people telling me that I'm just being too critical of all these Disney remakes? It's a boring piece of shit that has no right to exist. It's literally a cash grab, and you fed your money to it. There's no emotion inside the entire production because they all have to look like animals who have one face. They all look like cute little kitty cats, or they look like CGI garbage. If there's a better metaphor out there for this movie than that sequence of them just rolling that hyper-realistic piece of shit on screen for a while, I don't know what it is. And that's it for me. Did you enjoy my list? Did you enjoy my suffering? Well, tell me what you thought were the worst movies in the comments down below. Let's get some healthy discussion going. And as always, be sure to hit the like, share, subscribe, comment for more. All those things help this channel grow. I am so close to 100 subscribers. Let's see if I can't hit 1,000 by the end of this next year. And once again, I just like to say 2019 was a bit of a mixed bag, though I still rank it overall positive, and I am glad I'm back doing this again. Hopefully I can keep this all consistent and keep going forward and continue to bring you good, well thought out reviews. And thank you for sticking with this overweight guy sitting in front of all this toys and stuff, shit talking movies. It's been a great 2019, and I hope to see you all next time.